Just the choral words, please. Yeah. Our first chord, please. Here we go. 1 and 2 on the left. Your Latin is lovely, but you're dragging behind it. If we're dragging behind the choir of 31, it's not a good sign. Go back to count singing, and you won't find this hard to count sing at all, especially given all the count singing that you did last semester. 1 and 2 and T and 1 from the top. Your parts. 1 and 2 and a go. 1 and 2 and T and 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 1 and go. T and 1 and 2 and 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 T and. So that took a harmonic turn that you were not expecting. Start there again at the last note of page, or last note of measure 11, please. Last note of 11. 1 and 2. So what's the syllable that you're starting on? T. It is T. Yeah. T. You don't have measure numbers? That's right.
Not all of them. Not all of them. No. So we have you.
Well, that's horrible. Okay. Then I'm going to say for this choir and also for collegiate singers that your assignment is to number all of the measures in your score by Tuesday if you can, because my score is going to be different than yours. It will not take you long. Okay. So for now, I'll just give you words where you're starting. Can you start, please, at tu sushi pe, but sing on the numbers, starting on the word T. Tu sushi pe, sing right up. Yeah? 1 and go. T and 1 and 2 and 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 T and. Let's do that again. We were led down the garden path slightly with the wrong. Yeah. That's your first mistake this year, so we'll forgive that. Yeah, that's just fine. Same thing. Yeah. It only took 5 months. 1 and go. T and 1 and 2 and 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 T and on. 2 and T and 1 and 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 2 and T and 1. So when you've got sopranos, for instance, 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 1. What's that emphasis called? Any of you can answer this, by the way. What's that emphasis called when you do that? When it feels like it's in 3 and then suddenly it doesn't, it feels like it's in 2. Who remembers the fancy schmancy name for this? Yeah.
Hemiola.
It's called the hemiola. And bring out those 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and. The rest of you have corresponding emphases on those beats. If you will do likewise. If you're unsure of what I'm talking about, just watch and I'll show you. Start, please, where it says quorum hodie. See that? Quorum hodie? Start with the word two. Okay, that's where we're starting. Yeah. On the counts of 1 and 2 and T and I go. 2 and T and 1 and 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 2 and T and 1. Right. I heard it lots from the sopranos. I want to hear more from everybody when we get there. So, for example, basses 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 1. Much more of that. Back off on what is not important. Same spot as we started before, please. Feet on the floor, sitting up. Let's get to work. Here we go. 1 and 2 and T and I go. 2 and T and 1 and 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 2 and T and 1. Right. There's lots of influence from the Baroque era. The hemiola thing is really a Baroque thing. This has more than just about any other piece by Mozart that I know of has the hallmarks of Baroque music in it, and I think because Mozart, whenever you write a requiem, or you write a mass, or you write a setting of a classic text, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, and your work will inevitably be compared to those who came before you, right? Like if I were to write a setting of the Mass, Kyrie Gloria Creatus Sanctus Agnus Dei, I would find it hard to do that because there have been so many great masses written, and so many settings of that text. And you, upon hearing it, would go, if you had sung in the choir for any length of time, you would go, oh, you know, Loeppky, your Kyrie sounds like so-and-so's Kyrie. Or that bit of the credo reminds me of so-and-so's, same bit in the credo. Because there's just been so many settings of it. Mozart, in doing so, in writing a classic text, the Requiem Mass, setting of it, is hearkening back to an earlier age, because he wants that kind of legitimacy. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, do that again, and that was fantastic emphasis on those words and on those syllables. Do that one more time. One and two and T and.
2 and T and 1 and 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 2 and T and 1.
Very good. Go on. 1, 2, and go.
1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and T and 1. 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 T and 1 and 2 and T and 1. T and 1 and 2 and 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 T.
Let's do that section again. So dynamically, don't talk. I'm recording this for an important reason, by the way. The less talking you do will be helpful. What's going on dynamically? Is there a pattern in this section? Raise your hand if you see one. It's not a very hard pattern to figure out. Is it? What's going on dynamically in this? Yeah. Forte piano. Yeah, that's otherwise known as terraced dynamics. There are decrescendos and crescendos along the way, but for the most part, it's real loud, real soft. Do that even while you're count singing and relearning this. I know it was months ago since we did this. Same spot, please, where all that nonsense begins. The ostias, it's my measure 23. Do you see where we are? Yeah? Here we go. 1 and 2, forte, go.
1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and T and 1. 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 T and 1 and 2 and T and 1. T and 1 and 2 and 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 T and
40.
1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T
And T and 1.
and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 1.
Yeah. See, normally the positive peer pressure kicks in if one or two of you get on like the wrong number. But if the entire choir starts on 1 when they should have started on 2, then it's just janky. So let's start there, where you should have started on 2. You know where I'm talking about. Start where you should have started on 2. It's my measure 39. 39? Yeah, and the word is quadro. Yeah? Here's the 2, 1 and 2 and T and go. 2 and
T and 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 1.
Yeah, just make sure that you go down where you're supposed to spread. Let's just do it again. Same spot. Yeah, I like your emphases very much. You're making it sound very Baroque. 1 and 2 and T and go.
2 and T and 1 and 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 2 and T and 1.
Go on now.
1 and 2 and T and 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 1.
And then if you do you have a page turn here? Yes? No. And then we start one of the many fugues. By the way, writing a fugue is also like harkening back to the Baroque era, like guys like Bach and Handel. And Mozart does the same thing. The fugue subject sounds like this. Quam olim abre, promisisti, et semini eius. That's how the opening starts. And we'll all get to sing this, but I thought I would start with something that was more or less homophonic, just to be easy and keep us honest. Let's do that again. Stand in on the words. All of the same goodies along the way, would you? Like all of these wonderful dynamic shifts. Also, and I think just because we've had the Christmas break for a month, your tone has gone a little bit east-west. I would like it to be a little bit more north-south. Let's just build in good habits, even though we say everything. Here we go. From where you come in, please, beginning of the movement. 1 and 2, go. Now, most of you caught me out of the corner of your eye where the kind of emphasis that I wanted in those lines. Or, well, maybe not most of you, maybe many of you. Let's get even more of you to do that, yeah? There is no such thing as just rehearsing. You're always performing. Right now, you're performing for me and William. And for each other. Here we go. Same spot, beginning. I'm going to show you a phrase. Come along for the ride. Ready? Yeah. Lovely. Oh, yeah. Start at TV. It's always fun when we go to the flat seventh, isn't it? Yeah, composers don't use that enough, in my opinion. 1 and 2, TV, go. Hold. I think we have it now. Starting there. 1 and 2, starting there. Answer, by the way. Yeah. Start please at that quadrum there. The quadrum. Harmonically, Mozart's given us a few twists and turns here. That quadrum, the one that begins on the D minor chord. 1 and 2 and T, go. We will not do it in a swing style. Let's turn to the Lacrimosa. Lacrimosa? It's mine, page 40. 41 for you? It's 40 for me, I think. Yes. Yeah. Here's an interesting little tidbit about this piece. This piece, if you go back and look at Mozart's original manuscript, like where he actually wrote in his music, right? They didn't have Sibelius back in the day. Where he stopped writing, at least for full chorus, is the end of the 8th bar of this piece, of the Lacrimosa. After this, what we have in the chorus parts are kind of sketchy, like a voice here and a voice there. Maybe a few of the instrumental parts are filled in, but there's just not a lot. And this is what Zussmayer and his people had to finish, had to complete. So during the Mozart bicentennial, this would have been 1991. Were any of you born in 1991? No, I was a student. I was 21 years old. It was, which was the 200th anniversary of Mozart's death. I remember listening to CBC FM on a Sunday morning, and they had a broadcast of a performance of Mozart's Requiem from somewhere in Europe, probably somewhere in Germany or Austria. And it was a really special performance because I knew the work kind of sort of, I had sung it. And they played through the Mozart Requiem, and they stopped cold at the end of that measure in the middle of the performance, and just stopped, and there was dead silence, as if to show this is where Mozart stopped writing. And then after that, they sang his Ave Verum Corpus, which I'm guessing some of you have sung at one time or another, in church choir perhaps, or in school choir. Yeah, it was a stunning performance, but a way to bring out that little historical tidbit. Let's sing. You know what? Try another words. Right where you started. Lacrimosa. 2 and a T. Here we go. And. But I think the ending consonants ought to do this. Qua, rest, re, sur, jet, x. They always fall on the next rest. Can we do that and put those goodies in, please? Starting on measure 5. Qua, 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Qua, re, sur, jet, x.
Good.
Fa, mi, la.
What's tricky about that is this is what the bass line is doing. I'm starting in my measure 11 at the word qua resurgent, measure 11. Here's what the bass line is doing. Listen to this. How would you describe that if you were writing a paper about that motive? How would you describe it? Chromatic movement in octaves. Yeah, that would do it. Yeah.
It reminds me of those like, have you ever heard those like sounds where it sounds like it's continuously going down, but it never actually, like it just loops?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and yes, yeah, and it's his way of adding drama. Now, would you say that chromatic movement upwards in octaves should be accompanied with a crescendo, a decrescendo, or neither? What do you think? Should it do neither, or should it get louder, or should it get softer? I think it should get louder on everyone. So start right there, please. Measure 11, please. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and go. Let's get a few of the other parts. Sopranos and altos start at the same spot. It's just with all that chromatic wang noodling around, it's sometimes hard to hear the inner parts. Sopranos and altos, 3 and 4, and go. yeah. Tenors, can you join them, please? Sopranos, altos, tenors, no basses for now. These three parts, please. Same spot. 3 and 4 and go. And the one that's the most leapy is the tenor part. Tenors, let's go over that because it's tricky, yeah. Basses, can you provide some harmonic foundation for them by singing along with them? Basses and tenors, same spot. 3 and 4 and go. Because he wants to keep that pattern of the chromatic, what do you call it, the chromatic? Yeah, the chromatic going up thingy. Sometimes in order to preserve that, he has the tenors actually sing lower than the basses. Everybody right here, and we'll go on. 3 and 4 and go.
Mulligan.
A mulligan. We'll have a mulligan for the sopranos. Start at uic, uic ergo. The H's in Latin are always silent. Uic ergo. Starting right there, everybody. 3 and 4 and go. Yeah, so you have uic ergo. The sopranos in front of you have uic ergo. It's just voice crossing. Once again, please. You start there. Sopranos, you start there. 3 and 4 and go. Start right there at the high half of the sopranos. You almost got it. Yeah, on the word Jesu. 3 and 4 and go. Right, can you play starting from this section, what you have in the very highest voice in the piano? That da-da,
Yeah.
da-da.
From, sorry.
Yeah, from the uic.
Oh, got it.
3 and 4 and go. And. Definitely a pattern here too, right? It's an instrument that's responding. It's either violins or it's the basset horns, which is kind of like an alto clarinet, or it's both. And they're doing da 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 da. That, by the way, in the Baroque era was called the sigh motive, and it was basically code for something sad is going on. The text for this piece is Lacrimosa, which means tears of mourning. It's the part in the Requiem Mass where we're being sorrowful about the person who's passed away. So that's right there. You've got a text music combination going on there. Sing this again, please, and we'll do that again and get all the little goodies from uic. 3 and 4 and go. Ooh, that's really your note. 3 and 4 and go. and sunny. Seems like we're almost out of the sad part. And then